Hello everyone, Richard Carlton here. Welcome. I want to do a quick audio check with the team. So is production engineer Charles Massey there? Are you there, Charles?
Hello, I am here.
A little bit louder, Charles, more gain on yours. Miles Debski, are you there?
I am here. I hear you.
From our Oregon Command Center. So Miles is in our Oregon Command Center where he works at home even when nothing crazy is happening, which is great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make one adjustment to my screen here. We are broadcasting from two different locations. We're alternating between two different office spaces depending upon the day of the week and what we're doing. This is a slightly different office, although you really can't quite tell. But we don't have the posters in the background, which is kind of the dead giveaway. We're in location B, location Bravo. So I want to go to dock. Where is the dock on this thing? There's dock. I need to make the dock left. And I want to hide itself. Where's the auto hide part? Maximize, application, alternate, automatically hide and show. There we go. All right, cool. That keeps it out of the way. So today is open question and answer day. We actually have some updated schedules that are coming up. I'm going to go ahead and cover those briefly with everyone. You can watch this live stream either on Twitch or on YouTube on our channel. I'm going to go ahead and bring up our live training schedule at this point. And I'm getting a little bit of audio from one of you guys, so make sure you're muted if you're not talking. And so what we're doing is we're adding all the additional days because we were doing a Tuesday, Thursday schedule, and what we ended up doing is we've excuse me, we've gone to a Monday through Friday schedule at 1 o'clock. These are the topics that we have. We are getting a lot of conversation. A lot of people are asking about performance, and the reason they're asking about performance is that they have a FileMaker application. They kind of slowly work on it, slowly invest on it. Maybe they get busy with their business. They don't work on it. And they have some performance problems. But everyone's in the office, so you don't really see the performance problems. Then they take the FileMaker solution. Everyone's working remotely if they're one of those businesses where you can work remotely, which is great. FileMaker's great at this. The issue is that if you haven't made the updates or adjustments to make it run faster over a wide area network or over the cloud, then right about now your customers or your employees or staff are calling to complain that they cannot do their job because it's going too slow. I've received a number of panic calls from customers, even maybe not our customers, but people who probably should be our customer, but they're like, hey, I've got to make these fixes like immediately because everyone's at home and they can't use it, right? So we have a lot of engineers at RCC. We have about a team of about 30 staff. If you need help, let us know. We can help you with that. Now, so to that end, I'm happy to talk about performance tuning. I think about once a week we ought to talk about it at least, almost even maybe 2 times a week, because we could talk about performance tuning twice a week and never cover it all. There's that much to it. There's a lot to it. And so the goal is to make your FileMaker custom application work for you. And if you're in the office, that's one set of things you can do. And then if you're working remotely where there's a performance bottleneck going through the internet, then you have to be a little bit smarter about how you build the application. So if you want to just ask us questions about performance here right now, that's great. Let's do that. I am watching the Twitch feed over here on this side. It's kind of hard to see. And so I'm going to be, if you see me looking over here, I'm checking and I'm reading comments on that. Miles Debski from our Oregon Command Center is going to be monitoring the YouTube live chat conversation. Those are 2 different chats. And we want to make sure that those people are having their questions answered too. So Miles, if you do have a question, feel free to kind of interrupt us in flight, assuming it's on topic. If it's off topic, wait till we get to the end and we're looking for new topics, right? So questions, please. Ask questions. Ask us about performance. For those of you who buy our training, what I am going to do is I'm going to show you real quick on how to get to the latest performance videos. And so what I can do is we have our FileMaker 18 video training course right here. We have a new test version of this that works perfectly well with Windows. It works perfectly good with Mac. The older one that you see actually right here, I'm not showing the beta one. It looks very similar. The beta one's kind of this orange interface. But this one requires Windows users to use Flash, which is really out-of-date technology that's been deprecated. But either way, you can get to the training. What you want to do is you want to do a search for performance over here. So if you type performance, right, then you're going to get a list of videos that one way or the other deals with performance issues, right? So course organization, we talk about the fact that we have is a we have performance videos. Dashboards is about making charts that run fast and about caching the chart data so there's performance. That's kind of a deeper conversation. It's at the top of the list here, but really that's a pretty deep conversation. And then, you know, we talk about what was new in Starting Point 5. And once again, these are older versions of Starting Point. We are working on new video course, or I should say an updated video course. Update to the book. We didn't do a FileMaker 18 book because frankly there wasn't enough new features in FileMaker 18 to justify a full book update, right, on Amazon. But 19 has got a lot of moving parts to it, and FileMaker's been kind of piecemeal releasing things. They released Cloud 2, which is starting to be solidified and stable and happy. They just released Claris Connect, which I'm still waiting for some important bugs to be resolved on that before we get too deep into it. So Claris Corporation is in the mode of launching products earlier, faster, like every 3 or 4 months. But the level of quality assurance may not be there with it. And for me to pretend it's all perfect is just not realistic. So what we do is before we give it to you, before we tell you about it, before we go through the training on it, we want to make sure it's stable, it's happy. So anyway, on the performance videos here, if you were going to start learning about performance, what I would do is I would look at, I would start here at script 6. Actually, all these are really good performance things. So 407, we talk about performance with sorting. Sorting is one of those great things in FileMaker that you should use in a limited sort of way. It's like really powerful, cool stuff. But if you try to sort large volumes of records, especially if you have a remotely connected user, it's just really bad. Once again, FileMaker's aware of this, and at some point in the future, maybe they will address this issue. I know that they've tried to address it before. About the time they're going to load the fix into the product, it gets vetoed for whatever reason. So we have interactive containers. How to make containers, interactive containers are one thing. Having them be interactive causes performance hit. So you really want non-interactive containers. So that is regarding that issue there. Making layouts run 200% faster, 300% faster, if not faster. Custom themes and shared styles. Did I say that right? Shared styles and custom themes is the correct term. Shared styles and custom themes. We really beat on this really hard back FileMaker 14, 15, 16, it became a real issue. A lot of people have gone in there and fixed that. We've had customers, huge customers with hundreds of users, and they had a system that was built in FileMaker 5 and 6. Maybe that's you. And the layouts have not really been updated. And as they come forward and they're using them with, like this one customer had a lot of old layouts, and then they had a lot of users, but the users were using older Windows computers, like a Windows computer with 4 gigs of RAM, things like that. And so what ends up happening is that the performance of the layout drawing and things like that were just horrible. So you end up rebuilding the layouts with modern tools. If you use the old tools in FileMaker, building the old layouts, what we call classic theme, the performance is really horrible. We cover that in great detail in the training in here. In fact, we animate it. This is live. So what's the benefit of live training? You can ask me questions, and we have a question right here I'll get to in just a second. But then we don't get to really animate it. I mean, I'm swinging my hands around and trying to animate, but the reality is when we shoot a video and you buy the training, then we actually animate graphics to have them fly around to help you explain to you what's going on. So that's the benefit of that. Plus you can play it over and over again. So real quick question. Can I use FileMaker to create a directory and or file within a remote server? That's a really good question. So FileMaker, starting with FileMaker 18. So the question here is from Spectra 207, who is probably a Chinese agent in the Chinese government. I don't know. But feel free to let us know where you're at, even if you're from China. That's awesome. The question is, can you use FileMaker to create a directory? We actually have a demo of that somewhere where we're actually using it to create and manage directories. On the Mac platform, largely there's more and more security that's coming on board with the Mac. And the Windows has kind of had this to a point, but even Mac is even more a little bit limited right now. And what that results in is fewer viruses and fewer problems, frankly, in terms of the malicious stuff on the Mac. but it's kind of a pain. So every time you install an application on the Mac, it's always saying, do you need to give it permission to do this and this and this? So FileMaker and FileMaker Server, when they live on the Mac, either Server or Pro, they're sandbox. The term is sandbox. So they can only read and write to certain directories. Generally, once you approve the FileMaker Pro to read and write on the Mac, you can pretty much read and write anywhere on it. On FileMaker Server, excuse me, the FileMaker Server on the Mac, you're limited to the temporary directory of the computer, the documents directory of FileMaker Server primarily. Those are the two locations that you can primarily read and write to. You're pretty limited because they don't want your server to be reading and writing into other applications. It's a sandboxing issue from the operating system level. It's really kind of a pain. It's caused problems, but it limits what other apps can't get into your FileMaker stuff as well. So that's kind of a limitation. On the Windows side, if you have directory access, so you can have, like you can mount the volume or however you want to mount that hard drive or get into that hard drive. As long as your Windows machine has permission to do it, you can create a command line. So either you're going to write the commands. So if I go in here, I can't do it with this file right here. Let me just open a basic, like copy starting point right here. I'm just going to open this up just because it gives me something to play with. So here's a copy of starting point right here. I'm going to go into scripts. I'm using keyboard shortcuts. I'm using Shift Command S, I think is what it is on the Mac, and on the Windows it's something very similar. And so this is the script workspace here. If I'm just going to create a new script, what you can see over here with files is you have the ability to, these are the file controls. These were updated pretty substantially with the release of FileMaker 18. Close data, you can create a data file, which is like a log file, like a tab file. You can save data into it that you want. It's pretty useful. But more importantly, you can delete the file. You can do all sorts of things, right? You can verify the file exists, open the file, write to the file. I think there is a write to the data file right here. So you can do those things. As long as you have directory level access and the operating system is letting you do it, you can do it. So either you would write it directly here on FileMaker Server. If the operating system blocks you, then you would have to call basically a PowerShell script or bash script or whatever you're going to do on Windows and have that little command line application do the work for you. So that's where that's going to come from. Next question from John. INPA, and if I don't answer that question to your satisfaction, feel free to ask me a more detailed question or send a question to support at RC Consulting. So John has a question. Miles, feel free to intervene with me if you're. I don't know if Miles is here because I heard the Slack kind of disappear and then come back. Oh, you guys are both here. That's good. All right, so we are talking via Slack to Charles and to Miles. I'm going to go ahead and hide that if it'll let me. There we go. It's being stupid. Let me minimize that. There we go. All right, so the question I have over here, so I'm looking that way. The question's from John. I am an advanced beginner. So it means you're a beginner, but you've been doing it for a little while, I guess. Starting to go through the 18 video training. I have a portal with both memberships and donations. I would like a field that would capture the most current ending membership date. So there are, the way I would look into this without building it, but the way I would lean into this, once again, we can reach out to you directly if you want to ask us about this with a coach, but just in this general setting like this, this is where I get into the help issues. Let me close this here. So basically, say you're in contacts. And so we have dates in here, right? So these are dates of contacts right here. It's a portal, right? If I go to layout mode, we have the portal right here. I could extend this down. And one of the functions that we use all the time is the sum function. Of course, grabbing this is always a trick. You have to grab it right on the line, and it tends to, did I move it there? Oh, there's still something there. It's a portal in the way. So let me unmove that. Okay, how do I... trying to get that little spot to move. There it goes. I got it. See that? You have to get it right on. It's one of those little spots it's harder than it should be. I'm making room for myself. You can't really see me if I hit the button here. I'm making room for myself. What I'll do is I'll try to put myself over here, hide myself out of the way, but I can narrow it down a little bit. So the idea is that we want to put a function that's going to check this relationship. Now there is this function called a sum function. So if you once again, you have to, how you build this, you have to be thoughtful. So there's the first way you build it as a beginner, which works, but it won't work great over a wide area network with lots of people hitting the database. If you're using the database locally, it's how you start. You learn the basics, then you move on to more advanced design. So actually the best way of me showing it to you is actually just showing you the demo. So right here we have a customer with, okay, so here's one with two, this is a portal, and it doesn't matter what we're capturing. The low, the high, the average, or the total. Those are all things that we can basically capture. So normally what you would do is you'd put down here at the bottom a field that would say the sum of the total, right? So if I go to define fields, I can create a, I'll call it test total, and I'm going to make it a calculation is a calculation field, right? And you still can't see me over here. Sorry about that. I'm going to say test calculation, I'm going to say create, and then what I'm going to do is I want the sum of the total of that field. Now I know that function is called sum. It's listed over here. If I did a search for SUM, there it is. Returns a value, returns a total of all valid non-blank values in a field. But what it also does really well is works across a relationship, because the field is locally on context, but the data is in the line items. And so, which is what you're trying to do. You're not trying to get the total, you're trying to get the low and the high. There are other functions that allow you to grab those. I'm just going to do the summary one because it's the one that's so commonly used. And I want to show you about kind of the low performance versus the high performance. So normally what you would do is you define this field like this. What we do need to do is we need to know the relationship down here. So it's 605M. Once again, we number layouts, we number scripts, we number relationships. So I go to evaluate a calculation data from the table of contacts. So the calculation is living, this field is living in the contacts layout, right? And then we want to dip through a relationship to T05M. So these are all the related things that we can access. These are unrelated, which we cannot access, or not connected. That gets back to anchor buoy. So this is the anchor is T05, the buoys are all these right here. I'm going to go to T05M, and then we want the invoice total or something like that. So grand total, something like that. That's probably the grand total. I'm guessing is what that field is. I'm just going to say okay. Oh, I didn't put a parentheses on the end, so you have to have matching parentheses on both sides. I say okay. I say okay again. It's going to save the change. It's going to put it down here. Total. It's not grand total. It's order total. So what I want to do is I'm going to go back and change the calculation real quick, so it's at least attempting to be correct. And so I'm going to go to, so once again, we're on TO5 is the anchor, and the buoy we're looking for is TO5M, and I'm looking for order total, just order total, order total, order, we have several order totals here, order total cost, order total price. I'll try that one right there. I'm not sure which field this is. Let me take a look at this one. Looks like it's cut off. Oh, it's in a, okay. So I have a button on top here. So what I want to do is look at the objects right here. I'm on a button right here, but I want to hit the, so what I can do is, so say I want to click on things, but I'm getting a button right here. I'm going to click on the eyeball over here on the, see the little eye right there, and I'm going to hide it temporarily. It's still going to be there, but I'm going to hide it temporarily. Now it's gone. Now I can click on the field that I want. Very cool tip. So I can double click order total price, which I think is what I did. Did I do order total price? Test. Order total price cash. I'll just do order total price. So I'll adjust that one more time. Sometimes you see a field name and you think you have the field name, but then you realize you don't have the entire field name, which is what just happened to me. So we have the sum of order total price. So here it is. So this is the child record. It's looking through the relationship to the line items here, and it's going to give us this total, and it's right over here. And so if I bring this over here, I'm just going to put it over here, and this is the field we just defined. We go browse mode, and it's going to give us, okay, well, it's not inside that tab. Let me go back to invoices. Yeah, so it's 26,000 plus 26,000 is going to give us about 51,000. We haven't formatted. Now, here is the important thing. Every time I flip this layout, I go to this layout, or I flip to this next person, or I flip the next person. That calculation is running in real time. So we talked about performance today, and I don't have any other questions here. Maybe Miles will have a question in a second, but every time we flip to this screen, it's reprocessing. Reprocess. I'm clicking it with the mouse. Reprocess. And so then what happens if we get one with 1,000 invoice or 1,000 line items? That could easily happen. So then what's going to happen, instead of it being flicky quick like this, you're going to hit it, and then you have this spinning, the slow spinning of it trying to process, a little beach ball on your Mac, trying to process. So instead of you having this great experience where you flip it and everything's really fast, it goes horribly slow. So the idea to have a calculation in here like this is what a beginner does, an advanced beginning user, advanced beginner. This is what you're going to do to make it work. You can change that sum function to something else to give you your average, etc., that kind of thing, or the high and the low. I believe you can get that as well. So the problem is that as I'm flipping through the screen here, maybe I don't care at all about this. Maybe I'm up here looking at the pictures. I'm like, I remember I saw that guy at a party. I got to remember his name. Or I'm like looking over here for some other data. But meanwhile, at the bottom, even though I don't care about it, it's still processing that total. So what we did in our system was we said, hey, what we want to do is only have it process when we want to see that number. So it doesn't do it all the time. And so we didn't put this field on the layout. We didn't define it in here. We built this right here. This takes a script. It does the same thing, but it only does it when we want it, right? So I press the button. It gives you the number. It's the same number, same exact number, but the difference is that it ran when we told it to, which is performant is the word, performant, A-N-T on the end. It's snappy only when we want it to. Now say I had 1,000 in here, and I knew it might take a little bit to do it. I'd be like, I got to get a coffee, got to drink my Diet Coke, go to the bathroom, get a break. I'll press the button and get the update. And so it only runs when you tell it to, not every time you hit the layout, which is a giant waste. So that is answering John's question as well as talking about the basic level and the higher end, what I would consider an intermediate developer should be the point where they can take that line and write it into a script. So if you want to see how we did this with the update total and stuff on there, you can get a copy of Starting Point. What you do is you go, you open it up, you make sure that you have the advanced tools turned on. So preferences, advanced tools down here, you make sure that's on. You got to quit and reopen FileMaker if it's not on, so that you get this tool menu. Normally you won't even see the tool menu. And then you say script debugger, right? So there's a script debugger, and then as it runs, I'm just going to cover my face for a second. You don't need to see me. I'm going to press this button, and now you're going to see the script run. Oh, it's going to run script 50759, and then it's going to like, okay, well, it's going to freeze the window, which helps with performance, and then it's going to set two different fields. So there's a field here. I think there's two fields in here. It's going to set one and set the other one. So it sets one, it sets the other one, it's done. And so that way you can learn and see, you can learn and see what we're doing. The whole idea is that Starting Point is a great CRM, but it's also this awesome learning tool. We get to teach you all the important things you need to know about building a great performing FileMaker custom application. So I wanted to, okay, before I get to mnumpty, right? And I'm going to get back to Spectre 207. So Spectre 207 had the question about running and managing the files on a server. You're going to have to write maybe send a support email to support RC Consulting. Attention Jacob, he's the kind of guy who loves to do this stuff. Maybe Brian. You're going to have write a little command line app that will go to that file and do what you need it to do. FileMaker server directly cannot write to that directory. So what FileMaker server can do is you can run a script that can activate a separate little program on the server, a little command line application. That little command line application can go to that file and do what you need it to do. It's a little bit of a hack, it's a little bit of a workaround, but we're working around the security of the sandbox. So this is Apple's sandbox security, it's not FileMaker. Very important. So if you want a little bit more information about that, or you want his input on that, send an email to support at RC Consulting, and then attention Jacob from the live training, and then ask him your question. So mnumpty is asking a new topic, new question, so we're moving on from this question. And Miles, do we have anything on YouTube World? How's that going?
Yeah, I got one question if you want to take it, or if you want to do numpties and come back to this one.
No, go ahead and we'll take one from YouTube too. That's fine.
Okay. Someone says they have a pretty old database that was built with the classic theme.
Yes.
And they are wanting to basically apply a new theme to make it, look better and bring it into the new world. And wondering if there's performance differences with themes, or is there a best way to apply those?
Well, yeah, watch the videos. Okay, just stop. Watch. You've got to. That's bad English. You've got to do something. Oh, I hate saying it like that. Bad English. But I highly recommend, in the most highest possible ways to recommend, that you watch the training on this stuff. And if you want some help with it, that's fine. But watch the training, because you have to. So the idea is that you're going to duplicate. I'm not even sure if you duplicate the layout. Basically, what you could do it that way. It depends the fastest way of doing it. We might want to get Jay to ask that question. The fastest way to, in fact, that's the person we need to do. Can one of you guys call Jay, see if he's around, and we'll ask him this question? See, I got 30 people that work for us, and they're busy, but I could interrupt them because I'm kind of the boss. So let's see if we can interrupt Jay, because he would answer this question the best. The exact process of doing it the best way, the best sequence for going through it. Basically, the idea is that you're going to change the theme, duplicate the layout so you don't damage the original one. You're going to duplicate the layout, then you're going to change the theme. And then everything's going to have it just be horribly broke. And so you need to go back and then rebuild that layout using the tools that we talk about and the methods that we talk about in these videos. So if I go back to performance, you're going to if you have to rebuild the classic, listen, if you've got remote workers and you're using the classic layout and they have a bunch of data, your remote workers right now are suffering. I promise you they're suffering. If they're not suffering, then they're probably not working. And if they're not saying anything, then they're either really quiet and they don't want to say anything, or they're not actually doing their job. I'm not just being a mean, but it's like when you know something's broke and it's like really slow. I have some databases but 2 people access them and the data is really light and it's a classic theme. It works okay. But if you go down here, performance improvements, we did performance optimization, under the hood, caching, things like that. Yeah, I would go through all these. There's a performance optimization section in here. But also, in addition to that, specific to what we're talking about here, video 601, 602, 603. Definitely hit these things. I mean, I can go in here and I can bring up the video, but the idea is that, let me see if I can just jump in here, because if you go up to, I'm going to mute myself here. I don't want to hear it. So it actually talks about going through the process here a little bit. So, see, see, that's the benefit of the animations, So at this office, so I'm at a home office right now, but then I go to Santa Clara. So at the home office, we have rescue cats. So I may be attacked by rescue cats. So the cats frequently show up in our training. So the classic theme is festively plump. The new term on the internet for that is chonk, C-H-O-N-K. That's a word that refers to your kitty has had too many treats and doesn't get enough exercise. So the idea with this is that it talks about how the inefficient code in here with the classic theme and how to make things run much faster. And so yeah, here's a comparison right here. So we did a FileMaker server test of a old theme, right? And so when you design it with a new theme and you use the tools correctly as I outlined, the amount of data going across the network is cut in half, at least by half, if not more than half. And we actually measured it with a tool at the time. And so yeah, we had a layout that took 850 megabytes to load, or about a megabyte to load. And with a custom theme, it was down, and it looked almost identical. It was 425K or less, about half, right? So the whole idea is that's why you want to do these custom themes and shared styles. And so we talk about this in great detail in these videos.
Optimized classic.
Right. So anyway, so that I'm just going to leave that one like that for now. If you guys get Jay, you want to interrupt me and ask me about that?
Yeah, I think he's on a call. I'm not.
That's fine. Just see if he wants to do it. He's gonna just tell him that if he drops in here, everyone's going to hear them live on the internet. So that's just the way that is. So moving along to Spectra 207, yeah, send email tech support, but that will answer your question. You can do it, but it's kind of a jump. Now I'm going to go to, do you have any other ones on that one, Miles? On the that one specifically?
That's all for that. Yep.
I'm adjusting my camera a little bit. There we go. Okay, so if I go to I am numpty00, which is like this great name. We keep seeing this person. I am following your video years, adding serial numbers in the years. I would like to have the last 2 digits, so on. So I try to work out. I have no luck at point in the right direction, please. What video number is that? I know, I guess I should ask the question where that was at without me knowing the answer. Basically, the overarching question is how to create a serial number with a year on it, right? That kind of thing. And so the idea, if I just go into, let me just close this out for the moment. I'm going to go ahead and close starting point for the moment. I'll create a new file. It'll be a blank file. I'll say create demo serial. And I'm just totally winging this, but I'm just going to say we have a name field. Then I'm going to have, there's a primary key up here. I'm going to let their primary key go because they're going to use UUID. We talked about UUID last week. If you have any questions about UUID, make sure you ask that. But it's an auto generation of a highly randomized string of numbers that the chance of being repeated are like 1 in 13 billion or something like that. But let's create a primary key that's a little easier to understand. So I will call ID. So let's say we're working on a contacts table right now. So it's a name, address, city, state, zip, all that. I could call it ID contacts. So what I do is I put the word ID in front of it. Tells me this is the primary key of the ID of it. I can say create it as a number or as text. Ideally, you'd want it for high performance. If you have like millions of records, you want it to be number. If you're going to have 10 or 20,000 records, text is probably okay. What I do is say create. I'd say options. What I want to do is I need to see that video. So normally what you do is you create a serial number like this on creation. You say, okay, you go over here. If I view it as a table right here, so then as I'm going to use my keyboard shortcut Command New, and so you can see it incrementing that number, right? If I go back into field definitions, what you want to be able to do is have it auto create from the data here. You could do, you could actually, not from data, you want to do a calculation. So what you could do, actually, hang on. So I don't remember shooting the video. That's the problem. I've shot like 600 or 700 videos, and you start to forget the things you've done, which is kind of strange. ID contact, I'm going to call this serial. Change it. I'm going to call ID contact. I'll just call it complete for now. So I'm going to create this as probably don't want as a calculation. Once again, a text field is a good one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create this one. I'm going to say option. So anytime you can have a calculation that runs once here as an auto enter option, not as a calculation field, that has better performance implications overall in your FileMaker file. So that's a performance tip once again. What I could do is I could say, give me the current year. So there's a year. I know there's a year function. If I type YE, see it auto completes. I say year. Give me the current year of the current date, which is today's date. So year and to get the current date, I say get current date. Once again, these are functions that I've memorized. We have to have matching parentheses both sides, and so that gets me that right there. So if I go to browse mode, it's on here. If I create new records, how come the one went away? Options. Let's put the serial number back on. Let's start it at, I don't know, 15. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete all my records in here. So this is why very rarely do I delete all records when we're creating. So we have 15. So there we have a serial number that's going, and then we have the year that's going right here based upon today's date. And so then what I would do is I would go back in, I would adjust this calculation right here to take the year and you could put like maybe an underscore or something on it. You'd have to decide what you're doing with this and why you're doing it. You could put a space in there, right? Or whatever you want to do. Maybe a space would be better. And then what you do is you would reference the serial number, right? And you say, okay, do not replace value if any. All right, so what it is that doesn't auto retroactively replace things, which is fine. I say, okay. So now as I create new records, so then you have kind of this model right here. So I don't know if enumpty, yeah. So I keep getting these videos for people who want me to watch my videos in the videos. I really can't do that. If you have a video you want me to reference, because I don't have that over on here. And so I have no, if one of you guys want to copy and paste this to me, but I think I basically have solved the problem here. So you have the date on this, you have the year, and you have the number. If you only want the two digits, okay, so you want the 2 digits. Okay, so how do we get 2 digits? So you would think like, well, let's just round it, but that's not necessarily what you want to do. So what you want to do is you just want the right 2 digits. And so what we're going to do is we're going to come over here and we're going to go adjust the calculation. So that's the serial number. So the serial number part is fine. So I'm just going to move this part. I'm putting returns in here. It doesn't change the form. I'm just getting it out of the way. I'm moving it down. And so I have the year right here, but I only want the right 2 digits of the year. So I'm going to put over here, I'm going to put a couple returns there. And I know that there's a right function. There's all a bunch of rights, lefts, rights, and so if I just type right here, you can get the right number of characters. You can get the right values, which in a value list, the top is the left, the bottom is the right. Or you can get right words. If you had a sentence that said the red fox jumped over the, what's that? The standard bit of text you always see in literature. The red fox jumped over the hill, or a red fox did whatever. So you could say right, and if it was the hill is the right word, you say give me the one right word, or the left word. So there's left, there's right, and there's also middle. You can tell it to extract things out of the middle. So I'm going to use right here. I'm going to just double click it. I'm going to say what text do we want? We want the year right there, and I want the number of characters. Whoop, okay, and the number of characters to be 2. We do have a Spanish FileMaker engineer that works for us. If you need Spanish help with FileMaker, feel free to email support at RC Consulting. We can hook you up with Alex. Alex is fantastic. I was about to give you my entire Spanish lingo is dos. So 2 is dos, I think, pretty sure. So there we go. And we say okay. We say okay. We say okay. Once again, it doesn't retroactively fix things. Now if we create new records, so there we go. So now we're getting the year, the right 2 which the right 2 happen to be the same as the left 2, but you'll see it work better next year if you want. So there you go. So the right 2 right numbers are a serial number, and if I just hold it open, right? So there it goes. Okay, makes sense. Hopefully that is Numpty's answer to the question. Hopefully that matches what we did. It's useful for us to go through and answer the question in completeness for everyone, so they can see that, because we can do that. And then we were going to ask Jay. Did Jay ever surface, or is he still on the call somewhere else?
He just surfaced. Let me try adding him.
And just but warn him that he's going live on TV. So if he shows up, although Jay is pretty straight laces compared to me. Questions from the troops. Questions from the folks. Happy to help. It's time to stay at home and work hard on FileMaker and make your applications run fast for your remote team. So your remote team is happy with the performance, they're happy with you, and they're happy with FileMaker. If you're having problems, email us at support and we will get you going. Because right now, if you want to learn about performance and your employees are already suffering, it's kind of almost too late. You really need to go in there and just fix it. If you want to learn about fixing it, you need to do that before everyone starts working at home. We had a customer email us today going, how do I fix this? And I was like, talk to an engineer. She goes, it should be so simple, easy to fix. I said, yeah, but talk to the engineer. He needs to log onto your screen and see what's going on. All right, so Ace, job, great. Ace, great job, great. Right on. So you guys should definitely let me know where you're calling from. So let us know. Make sure you like the video, but put it on the text or where you're calling from. I forget that. And then IMOG, who was a beige or pain in my rear end yesterday, is back. We need to change the link so the people who are problems at the end of the internet, they can't find where we're at. Just kidding. No, that's awesome. I'm glad he's here. What did he miss? Oh, no. So there's a 30-second delay here. Remember, there's actually about a 60-second delay. So the time you type, there's a delay when I see it. So just keep that in mind. We will release the recording iMog. You've got our paid training, our complete kit of training. You are an awesome person. Make sure you keep it up to date, and we will make sure that everyone who is on our paid, who gets our the basic entry-level training where you get our complete subscription is, if you at this event and you email support, we will send you the link. It's $149. Is the that doesn't include FileMaker, the copy of FileMaker. It's the minimum kind of subscription package. We have 2 subscription packages basically. The suggested retail on one is $199. It's just all the video training and all this kind of stuff. And then there is the $299, which includes FileMaker and the calendar kit and a bunch of other stuff. They're both really good deals if you want to save money. So we've been talking about custom serial numbers, and we talked about classic theme and the performance issues, and we talked about how to write a sum calculation. But the question was actually about averages and mins and maxes, and I didn't want to wrestle with that. If you could look in FileMaker under functions, you'll see for the very first person, there's a min function and a max function. You can have it generate the high and low of a field. England, right on. Dave learning from the UK. Right on. 2 of you in England. What the hell? Wow. You know, I don't know anything about Job Pro. Basically, the biggest issue. So back up. So there are some CRMs that are out there. Okay, so this is kind of funny. So FM Starting Point was designed in 2009 or 2008. We offered to let FileMaker distribute it, and they wouldn't do it unless we took all our name off of it. And I said, fine, forget it. Let's not do that. And so we've been giving it away. The chief engineer of FM Starting Point right now is a guy named Nick Hunter. Nick Hunter is a performance Nazi. With performance, he knows everything. He is really, really quite good. And so Starting Point has been re-engineered a couple times to maximize performance improvement. Starting Point is free. We've actually had people who go out, take Starting Point, rename it, and try to sell it as is. Now, I'm not opposed to someone taking it, building their own vertical market application like for dentistry or for electricians or for, you know, delivery service or whatever, and then selling it, that's fine. But just taking the basic Starting Point and not making modifications to it and reselling it, that's against the rules. You need to change it some before you can resell it. Well, so we run into CRMs out there that like the Job Central one or the Job Pro one, that may be one that has a very, very long history. I don't know off the top of my head. There was a Job Central or Job Pro one that had been originally developed in FileMaker 6, and I'm assuming they re-engineered it. Starting Point is re-engineered every, well,
All right, I'm here, boss.
radically here. Yeah, stand by, Jay. So about every Starting Point is about every 2 or 3 years we re-engineer it in a substantial sort of way. And you guys should make sure you mute yourselves because you are on live TV, which everyone can hear you sniffling and coughing and sneezing and stuff. So the issue comes up is that I can't vouch or verify, you know, they're charging $500 a copy for stuff, and I can't tell you that they've engineered it to be optimized. But the number one issue, here's the blatant truth. A application is slow if the person building it sucks. Okay, I hate to be a dick about it and very blatant about it. And I've been 30 years and I built applications that were horrible 20 years ago. And 15 years ago, they were much, 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 much better. And then even in the last 5-10 years, they've gotten infinitely faster because they had to be. If you don't reinvest and don't re-engineer it and make it run fast and take advantage of like custom themes and shared styles, it's always going to be slow. So to that end, yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, so I can't tell you that those guys are good or bad. I can tell you that you know, a free CRM is a free CRM, and we actually have a ton of capabilities in it. I'm aware of Core, the guys at Productive Computing. They're pretty competent guys. I like them. I would imagine their stuff is pretty fast, but they don't allow you to customize it. And it's really like Propeller Head where we do training on it. Their stuff is not designed so you understand it. Most CRMs are not designed so you can get under the hood and work on them. We specifically engineer Starting Points so you can get under the hood and work on it, which leads us to the conversation about performance, which leads us to our current guest speaker here. Jonathan Ray, you are there. Are you there?
Yes, sir.
All right, so people were asking, and so this is Jay, wherever Jay went. I don't know where he's at. Oh, he's over here. His little thing is right here. There he is. He's Jay up there. That's Jay. There we see Jonathan. Jonathan, can you give us a run through when you were doing work for that, without mentioning the customer's name because I don't want to embarrass them or get in trouble, but you had that hazardous materials company and you re-engineered all those layouts because they were classic theme. Kind of what was your sequence when you rebuilt them? What was like step 1, step 2, step 3? What did you do?
Right. So one thing that came in very handy was that right away I created, after creating a custom theme and renaming it, right, to whatever it needs to be, usually the name of the company and something.
So
where
you
can
started with an existing theme and you duplicate it and renamed it. Is it basically is what you did, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Now, and then what came in handy was creating a new layout in which I put all of the elements that I used throughout the theme. So if there was a button that was, say, purple, right, and I used that, I was going to use that elsewhere in the system, I would put that button there with that theme style, and then if there was a button bar that was used throughout the system, I'd put that on the layout. And so this layout had like 100 different elements. And what that allowed me to do is go into that one layout and change a style right there. And it would change throughout the entire system once I was doing that, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So you had like a catalog, almost like a catalog or a supply of all the pre-made. It's like if you had a bunch of Legos and you pre-built a lot of little assemblies and you put them in a box and you recycle those, duplicate them and recycle them,
right?
Which is great. Yeah, I mean the idea is that people have an old layout, so if they were going to take that layout and retool it, would you just start with a blank layout, or would you duplicate the old classic layout, then change the theme, and then go through and start fixing stuff? How do you do that?
You always duplicate the layout if you're unsure if you're going to be able to revert back to your original changes.
Well, okay, duplicate it first, then work on the duplicate, right? So,
work on the duplicate, and then once you or the customer you're working for is good, likes how that duplicate layout works, and they're fine with it, then and only then you come back to the live layout, select all, delete, and then paste the new layout elements from that duplicated layout. And that way it works like a charm.
Yeah, so I agree. And then there's a conversation go over here on Twitch where iMog is talking about a locally running database. He has his own server, but it's a virtual server on his same machine. That's always going to be the fastest possible speed performance on that. So yeah, so we had questions early on. Performance is going to be an ongoing conversation. So every day except Saturday and Sundays we're doing the broadcast. Everyone, please let folks know that we're doing this. Invite other FileMaker users here to learn. If you want to know what the schedule of events is, if you're lonely, you want to hang out with some people who we don't bite, and we don't judge you too much, except saying that, if this layout is slow, it's crap. I try not to be overly. I try to be nice about stuff as much as I can, but if sometimes you just got to call it what it is. But if you want to hang out with us, 1 o'clock, we're here, and some people work at home all the time. This is like no deal for them, and some people are at home literally very depressed, and I don't want you to be depressed, so come hang out, ask questions, because we're live streaming it, and we're teaching and talking about how to build better apps, right? Really making apps that are great. And right now is a critical. I got an email from a CEO or a senior vice president, someone at Amazon. Not Amazon shopping, but Amazon the data centers. He says now is the crucial time that the tools, the applications that are built on the internet must be performant and fast, because people are at home and they are suffering. If you've never reinvested, you never made it faster, now is the time to get that done. It's really was the time before to get it done. Now it's a panic to get it done. So everyone's Jay, I'm getting emails from people who they were like, they built the system. It's great 8-10 years ago. They haven't put much into it except to update FileMaker. It works great, except they go home and now the performance is really ugly. And It doesn't have to be. The performance can be fast. You just have to, but you learn that it comes from experience, which means you might have to invest a couple bucks in getting some help from a coach, one of the FileMaker coaches, which are pretty dang inexpensive. The coaches are effectively about half off. So I hate to overly push that, but if you feel like, you know, you're up against the wall and bad things are happening, you need a faster database, as long as you can get a little bit of help at half off, you can get a lot done. So yeah, iMog, I agree with statement. My bias thinks it's network. Okay, so let's talk about that. iMog, really great question. Awesome question. So here's what I'm going to do. Let's talk about latency. There's a video. I think it's in our course. Miles, can we verify that we have a video? Jay, you can hang or go or whatever you want to do, but we're talking to people here. Theoretically, I have 8 minutes left, but I don't have a hard stop at the top of the hour, so if it goes a little long, I don't particularly care. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to here. I'm going to type the search term in my video course for latency. There we go. Network link conditioner part 1. That's kind of more advanced in there a little bit, but it's pretty good. It's a Mac specific conversation, but there should be an equivalent Windows tool. The bottom line is that what you need to be able to do is you can establish whether so iMog, so when your boss says, so I used to get this back 20 years ago, right? And I had this customer. We were doing a lot of work in the event planning business, and the customer had a bunch of people in the office. They had a T1, and I would get this. They would say, "The internet's full," and that that's like scorched into my brain for life. People yelling, and I go on site, help them out, and I'd be in this cubicle, and I hear this, "The internet's full," right? Because it's going slow. The internet must be full. So that's the layman's way of saying it's slow, and they have no idea, so therefore it must be full of other people. Like the freeway is full, therefore it's slow. And it's not like they're wrong. They were closer to being right than they knew. So let's talk about latency. So latency is the measurement of performance. Oh, it's hiding on the Mac. I got to find it. Hang on. So on the Mac, you normally used to go to utilities in here. You're looking for a tool called the network tool. Apple hid it. I have no idea why Apple would hide an important tool. Obviously, someone thought that was a great idea. I'm going to say network. It has an orange icon on it. How about that? No, network. How about utility? Where is it at? There it is, right there. I scrolled down. It's network utility. It's hiding on the hard drive. So I'm going to hold down my finger, hold the Option key down. I'm going to drag it over here so it makes a copy. I got to authenticate. I think I did that wrong. No, I got it right. Okay, so now I have the network utility in here. I double click it. So here's what you want to do. You want to be able to do a ping, okay? And you want to, so I'm going to pick up address. So I'm in Fairfield, so I'm in the northern eastern part of the San Francisco Bay Area. I'm going to put an address into my Santa Clara office, which is 75 miles away. 76 at 34.132. And I'm going to hit ping. So what I'm going to see here is, now I am going out through video, okay? So understand that I'm broadcasting, and that's going to cause all sorts of problems. These numbers right here are the numbers you care about. This is the milliseconds of time for the packet to go there. I don't remember if it goes there and comes back, but it doesn't matter. It's kind of a uniform thing. I think it's a one-way. Well, it's a ping. It's time for it to come back, too, probably. I have to ask my engineer. That's an interesting question. But the point is, it's like a sonar in underwater. You send a little ping, ping, and then you're looking for the submarine out there or the ship, and it comes back to you, and you can tell by how long it took how far you are away. Well, that's because underwater, the sound is at a uniform speed. Here, the speed is not uniform because if the internet is full, people are watching videos and stuff, the speed goes down. So what do you need to know? If you run I'm going to run an unlimited set of pings right now. And the pings are just like little snippets of data. Now look, the numbers went way down. They were 100 something. So if you're in a local office on a local network, like there's a machine here and then on the other wall, cubicle is another machine, your ping speed will be 0.5 to maybe 1.5. Very fast. If you're in one building and you go to another building in the Bay Area or another office in the Bay Area and within a couple 5-10 miles or something, your ping speed might be like 9 milliseconds. Those are really fast performance. But if you have a really sloppily built database, the slower that number goes, the worse it is, right? And so here we're doing so normally under ideal conditions between here and my other office, the normal delay is about 27 to 37 right through there. So that's a good number. FileMaker still works great with that speed. Above 100, it starts to slow down, right? It starts to be noticeable. So we engineer like FM starting point to really kick ass up through 100, 150. It starts becoming more noticeable problems above, say, 150 to 200. Any speed in here, 70, 80, 90, 100, you don't want to be too far above 100. But once again, I am streaming high definition video out of this connection right now, which is guaranteed causing problems. Plus people are at home working. But the office on the other side is empty. There's no one in the office. So if it's full or there's a problem, if the internet's full, it's on this side where I'm at. Speeds are looking pretty good here. So you start to just look at these numbers. Now, the other area that you can have a problem with is where packets are dropped. So if it sends out 100 pings and only 95 of them come back, FileMaker more or less can handle that. But if you start dropping below about 10%, then you're going to have problems with that too. So what you need to do is you need to get a tool like this. On the Mac, we have a tool called Ping Plotter. I don't know if it's on here. This tool is really awesome. No, not that. That's my audio thing. Let me try. Let me just go Ping Plotter. And so this is a pretty awesome tool. We buy this from. So here's what I can show to you right. Here's a little animated GIF. So what you do is you put in the IP, and it shows you. It's giving you the complete milliseconds, right? The average, the minimum, the maximum. But it's showing you all the networks it's jumping through, and it shows you what's interesting of where there might be a really slow network. Like in here, notice this little line. It's pretty consistent. Then right here, it's more of a slowdown. So each one of these is a slowdown. And so that's the idea. So green, once again, 0 to 100 milliseconds is great. Anything less than 30 is just gold. If you're in the same office, why solutions work in the same office, you're at half to 1.5. That's like very fast. And so 100, 200 is kind of like your warning area. And then above 200, people are going to complain. So you need to run this test yourself. And but you have to find an endpoint. Now, if your endpoint is a FileMaker server, you need to put the IP in the FileMaker server. A lot of the FileMaker servers that, like if you're using Cloud 1 or Cloud 2, you really can't ping it because FileMaker, you can turn off the ability for a server to respond back to you. So it's like it's got its fingers in its ears and it's not going to reply back to you. So you'd always get these, all the packets are getting lost. It doesn't mean the server's not there. It just means that the server maybe is told for security reasons not to respond back. But Ping Plotter is a paid program. Really useful if you're trying to troubleshoot and like sometimes I talk to Comcast or AT&T or one of the companies and they go everything's fine. I say BS, and I didn't say BS. I said B whatever, and I said listen, I've got the chart. I can show it to you. And it's when you get the basic tech support people on the other end, and so what they do is they start escalating it up. As you escalate higher in a company, you get people who are more technically proficient, and what will happen is that they will start to have tools like this. They will use these tools, and they will see that they're pinging your office or your location, and it goes off a cliff. They could show that maybe it's at your office, or they could say, oh, it's on our side somewhere because you know this thing is jumping through different locations here. So that's Ping Plotter. It's another performance tool. Definitely use it. So cool. Oh, and there was a question about licensing. I didn't even see that. So, all right, question. Any more questions from Miles on your end, or did Miles have to eject? Is Miles still here?
I'm here. Yeah, I think we're all. I'm down to one person on my side, so I think we're clear.
They all left. What happened? It must be really bad. So I'm sorry.
They all had 2 o'clocks, I guess.
I guess 2 o'clock. Everyone has to go home. So we do apologize for that. So this is Richard Carlton signing off. Let everyone know that we're going to continue this every day. Ask questions. Let us know how we can help you and make your life and your database custom creation be more successful, how to make it run faster, how to use other third-party tools to help ensure that you're getting the performance you need. So for that, I'm Richard Carlton. We're going to be signing off here. And I got to press the button here. You ready for this? Here we go. Boop.
And the guys just stepped up the whole way. Calm, cool, collected. The quarterback, great read, good patience. More importantly, great job up front protecting this quarterback to give you a chance. And that's all you can ask for.
Try to rally down 10. 9:25 to go here in the fourth. Short motion by Amendola from the left. Brady takes the shotgun snap, stands in, throws it left for Amendola, reaches up and snacks a high throw and lands inside the 10, rolling to the 9. Ball slightly behind him, but Danny makes the grab.